Welcome to Singapore Property Talk Law. If you're keen on staying informed about the latest in Singapore's property scene, definitely make sure to like this deep dive and subscribe to our channel too so you don't miss any future updates. Today, we're diving into, well, the key trends shaping upcoming housing developments right across Singapore. We've pulled together info on several pretty significant projects and land parcels. Our aim, to give you a concise but insightful overview of where new homes are popping up. Everything from, BTO flats to potential private condos, and lots of them conveniently near MRT stations. So our mission today is really to unpack what these developments mean for Singapore's evolving urban landscape.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is seeing how these new developments, they really reflect a strategic push, don't they, towards greater connectivity and optimized land use,
Hmm.
placing housing near MRT stations. I mean, it's not just about convenience, right? It's just a broader move to encourage public transport use and create more sort of integrated communities.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with the former Keppel club site. In Bukit Merah, this one's pretty significant. Around 1,000 BTO flats are slated for launch in October,
Mhm.
and it's part of the greater southern waterfront. So what makes this development particularly, noteworthy?
Well, beyond just the number of units, which is substantial, it's the deliberate planning for a really diverse community. You've got the mix of two-room flexi up to four-room flats, and they're including public rental units, too.
Right.
And there's a really strong emphasis on green spaces bordering Burlair Creek, which is amazing, one of the last mangroves in the south.
Yeah.
It signals a real commitment, I feel, to integrating nature within urban living. These landscape terraces and green corridors, they're not just like nice-to-haves. They actually aim to support local biodiversity.
It's a massive project overall, isn't it? This initial BTO launch is just, well, part of a much larger vision. We're talking 6,000 HDB flats and 3,000 private homes planned for that site eventually. Essentially a whole new estate taking shape within mature Bukit Merah, served by Labrador Park and Telok Ayer MRT stations. That's quite a transformation.
Precisely. And dedicating what is about 20%, nearly 10 hectares of that 48-hectare site just to parks and open land. That really underscores the importance of livability, especially, in a dense city like ours. It's about trying to create a genuine community, not just rows and rows of buildings.
Okay, moving slightly north then to Payoh West near Caldecott MRT. We're looking at around 740 flats coming up in the July exercise. Caldecott is really becoming quite the connectivity hub, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, it's an interchange now for both the Circle and Thompson East Coast lines. So its strategic importance is pretty clear,
Hmm.
and including amenities like an eatery, shops, and a preschool right within the development. Plus, the existing hawker center and neighborhood shops nearby. It just adds to the appeal for residents who want that convenience.
Yeah, convenience is key. Now, those land parcels near Marymount MRT along Upper Thompson Road, they're generating some interesting speculation. The first site, the old Lakeview shopping center spot, analysts seem to be leaning towards private housing. Why do you think that might be?
Well, if you look at the surrounding area,
Right.
it's mostly characterized by landed housing and also the privatized Lakeview estate itself.
Mm-hmm.
So putting in private condominiums, maybe 1,600 to 1,700 units, it might align more closely with the existing housing profile there.
Okay.
But, you can't entirely rule out a large HDB development, given the strong underlying demand for public housing. It's always a possibility.
And speaking of large-scale potential, there's that big site right next to Caldecott MRT station. It used to be partly industrial, now earmarked for residential with commercial on the first floor. It could see, up to 4,200 condo units? Or maybe 3,500 HDB flats? That's huge.
Massive potential, yeah.
What are the sort of broader implications for a development that size, right in such a central spot?
Oh, this could really reshape the whole Caldecott area,
Mhm.
potentially turning it into a much more significant residential and commercial hub. The fact that there's commercial zoning on the ground floor, that hints at trying to create a more self-sufficient precinct, doesn't it?
Like a mini town center.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
And the potential for high-rise blocks, maybe 50 stories or more, offering views over the central catchment greenery. That's quite a unique selling point. That plot ratio, 4.7, it signifies a really high level of allowable development. So expect dense buildings.
All right, heading east now towards the Kallang River area near Kallang MRT. We've got two plots there next to the river being prepped, both with increased plot ratios up to 3.5.
Right, up from 2.8.
Public housing seems maybe more likely here, especially thinking about the nearby industrial areas and the noise from the east-west line track.
Yeah, the surroundings might suggest public housing is a better fit, but the waterfront views these sites offer,
Mm-hmm.
that's a significant draw card. Can't ignore that. The increased plot ratio allows for more homes, definitely. And people are comparing it to Veranda at Kallang, which suggests these could actually be highly sought-after prime location flats, offering a unique living environment, despite the more urban or industrial context nearby.
Okay, further east again. Around Upper Changi and Expo MRT stations. There are 2 housing sites there, some boundary adjustments for roads, but the potential for both public and private housing seems strong.
Plot ratio stays at 2.1, though.
There seems to be a deliberate effort, though, to introduce more public housing specifically in the Upper Changi area. Why focus there?
Well, it seems to align with those broader social goals, doesn't it? Fostering more diverse communities across Singapore, putting public housing into areas that have been perhaps predominantly private can encourage greater social mixing.
Ah, okay.
And that upcoming BTO project in Seme, next to Upper Changi MRT, it's the first new batch of flats there in over a decade, right?
Yeah, I read about that. Coming in July.
Exactly. So that's a tangible example of this strategy, and it could potentially serve people working nearby, like in Changi Business Park.
Right. Okay, let's swing back down south to the Dover Road area. This is within the upcoming Dover Knowledge District. Part of a former SURS site is being prepped. Looks like it's leaning towards private condos, maybe fitting that whole One North vibe. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, it feels like it's about creating a cohesive ecosystem. The Dover Knowledge District is envisioned as this hub for innovation, research, learning.
Right, the knowledge economy focus.
Exactly. So aligning the residential options with that profile, probably attracting professionals, academics, researchers, it makes strategic sense. And having commercial amenities on the ground floor will just further support that whole live work, learn environment they're aiming for.
Okay. And then up north in Woodlands South, right next to the Woodlands Health Campus, there's a site rezoned from reserve to housing, plot ratio 2.1. Seems like public housing is maybe more likely there, given the proximity to the hospital.
Absolutely, that seems logical. Providing accessible housing options near essential services like a major hospital, it benefits a whole range of people. Healthcare workers themselves, patients' families, people needing regular access to medical facilities. Makes sense.
And finally, right in the heart of things, a smaller site next to Telok Ayer MRT in the CBD. This used to be the interim Market Street Hawker Center spot.
Oh, right, I remember that.
Now earmarked for private homes with commercial downstairs. Tiny site, though, about 2,000 square meters.
Yeah, very small.
That prime CBD location really says it all, doesn't it?
Definitely. In the heart of the CBD, land is such a premium. So a smaller, probably quite high-density private development is the most logical outcome there. Catering to those who really want to live right in the city center, close to work, close to all the amenities. Even on a small footprint, that plot ratio of 6.2 allows for a decent number of units, maybe around 200 condos.
Wow. So as you can see, looking across all these developments, it paints a picture of a really dynamic and evolving property landscape here in Singapore. There's a clear emphasis on strategic planning, especially around transport nodes, and a real focus on trying to cater to diverse housing needs right across the island.
Indeed. That integration of housing with public transport infrastructure, that's a key takeaway for me. It reflects that long-term vision for a more sustainable and connected urban future. These developments, they aren't just about building homes, are they? They're really about shaping communities and ultimately enhancing the overall livability of Singapore.
Well, we hope this concise overview of these new housing developments has given you some valuable insights into Singapore's property outlook. Lots to keep an eye on, definitely. What aspects of Singapore's future housing landscape do you find most compelling or maybe most interesting to watch? Let us know.